it was filming on high. We shouldn't have filmed it on 4K. Okay, so welcome everyone to this morning's Intermediate Advanced Medieval Ballroom Dance class. Today we're covering, ironically, the leader-follower Saltarello, and I say ironic because it's the morning that one of you doesn't have a partner. But that's okay. I took entire months of Balboa partner classes where most of the people didn't have a partner and they just pretended. So I'm not certain how that ended up going for them in real life when they finally have a partner to actually lead and or follow, but there it is. So the Saltarello. Saltarello means the big jump. And it is actually a dance that has survived to this day as a folk dance form in Italy. And it still has a hop in it. But it's no longer in Saltarello tempo. As far as I can tell, it's now in 4/4. But that's, I mean, dances evolve, so that doesn't, what the modern Saltarello is should not necessarily, and probably shouldn't, be utilized as a tool to inform us on what the 15th century Saltarello is. I thought I would lead us off with some actual period contemporary quotes and descriptions of the Saltarello to help you get a feel for what we're working with when we're reconstructing dances like this. So this is a description of a festivity. And the chronicler says, you would see these pretty ladies dancing 2 by 2 with other ladies to the piva and some to the Saltarello. So what that tells us is that, as I've often said in many of my classes, this is the evidence that ladies danced with ladies and that they danced as couples, and that sometimes they would dance to the piva and some to the Saltarello. And the implication is maybe even that you could do both to the same music at the same time. So some people would be dancing a Saltarello and some people would be dancing a leader-follower piva, and it works just fine. And in fact, as we're going to demonstrate later on, one of you can be dancing the Saltarello and one of you be dancing piva, and it can work also.
Because some of us have a hard time with the Saltarello.
Some people can't get that hop in the right place consistently. Okay, so another little tidbit from another festivity in about the same time, so 1450s. Then the players began to play a Saltarello. Then every squire, who was graceful and slender, apparently there were no ungraceful fat squires allowed to dance, chose his wife or a maiden and began dancing, doing one thing or another. They might promenade around, saltella, doing the jumping, change hands, exit, and have new partners. So what this particular passage tells us about this leader-follower Saltarello is that it is a leader-follower dance, because it says they're doing one thing or another. And that's every squire dancing at the same time. So this is definitely a dance, absolutely, the evidence is that this is a dance where everyone is out there dancing. It's not just one couple putting on a performance. Each couple's doing a different thing, and the only way that can work is either you each have your own personal choreography memorized, which that's possible, but modern ballroom dancers do that, or it's actually just a proper leader-follower dance. Both might be likely, actually. It may be that husband and wife teams would get together and scribble down fascinating, complex choreographies to try to wow the audience. That also happened with the Galliard in the 16th century, in fact. But they might promenade around, so this gives us an idea of one of the figure options where you're just going around. Change hands, which to me that means that you go from maybe dancing this way to dancing the other way, or taking same hands and circling, for instance. It also says that they exit and then come back with new partners. So this is part of my theory. This is a bit of information that informs my theory that, like modern folk dancing in Bretagne, in France today, where they play the same tune for half an hour, a basic brawl, a basic double brawl, and people enter the floor and leave the floor and change partners and come back on and off, and the music just keeps going. I feel like that's a possibility for the Saltarello as well. The musicians would just play for a long time, improvising and coming up with divisions and all sorts of fun things. And people would come and dance, and they would leave, get a new partner, come back on, right? And that's informed here by this particular passage. So that's to get us into the mood of the Saltarello as a social dance form. So let's talk about the step. Saltarello is described as a double with a hop. And one of the specific passages says, the saltarello is a double step in which the salto, the hop, is followed on the foot, or follows on the foot on the same side. And that's actually, I need to redo that translation. That's an awful translation, and I don't agree with that one. I have to go back and find the original again. But basically, that means it's a double that ends in a hop. And there are some people who debate about where that hop should go, whether it should go in the beginning, should initiate the saltarello, so it would be step, or excuse me, hop, step, 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 hop, step, step, step. Or if it should come in the middle. There were some people in the 1970s and 80s who put it in the middle, and the people who learned it back then are still trying to put the hop in the middle, but that's kind of since been debunked as a poor understanding of the Italian. And then there are people who put it at the end. I'm in the end school of thought. And that's because there are actually some choreographies where you have a series of saltarelli, and one of the versions of the choreography specifically says, do 3 saltarelli and then do a doppio, instead of doing the 4 saltarelli that appear in an earlier version of the dance. This is the case in Prigioniera, for instance. You do 4 saltarelli in the earlier version, and in the later version, it's like do 3 and then a normal double. And so that tells me that because you want to get rid of that hop for the transition to the next thing in the dance. So you wouldn't have to make that modification if the hop came on the beginning, because there wouldn't be a hop at the end to get rid of, to try to mitigate. So to me, that's even more evidence that the hop should be on the end. Also, there are dances, and I know I can go into this geekery with you, Decimus, because you're the only one who's going to see this, you and Brianna. There are also dances that open with a series of saltarelli, some number, 9, 12, 16, whatever, and they also say part of the description for what you should do at the beginning is that you should start with a little movimento. Well, why are you doing a little movimento if the hop is at the beginning already? Right? That doesn't make sense. It only makes sense you would tell someone to do that if there wasn't already some kind of movement, some kind of motion built into the step. If the hop's at the end of the saltarello, then there isn't at the beginning. And so it makes sense that the choreographic description would say, start with a little movimento to sort of pick the dance up. Right? So these are some of the many reasons that I really firmly believe, and I re-examine this every year. This is how I spend my life. Every year, I pull out all of my resources for these dances, and I look through them all again, page to page, cover to cover, and reconsider, do I still believe what I thought I believed last year? And while I have changed my opinion about certain things, like the piva, my opinions have evolved on, become more nuanced and more complex. Represe as well, Continenze as well, but with the saltarello, I'm still firmly in the end hop camp. So that's how we're going to be doing it in today's class. So let's go ahead and just get our mind into saltarello. We'll warm up with some doubles, and then we're going to do some hopping exercises, and then we're going to build it together. So the saltarello tempo is a 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to have my husband come out, and he needs practice. He needs saltarello practice too. Okay, so a double at that tempo ends up without the hop, just the doppio, just the double part of it. Looks like this. Step, 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 step. Slow, quick, slow, slow, quick, slow. So let's just do that. Slow, quick, slow, 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 slow, quick, slow. Okay, so that is the double part of our saltarello. Now let's talk about that hopping thing. Decimus, of course, knows, he's drilled with me lots. We like soft hops, soft hops. So what that means is that if we put our weight on our left foot, we spring up, we jump up, and when we land, we catch ourselves on the front half of our foot, so that we actually use the front half of our foot to catch, and then we use the muscles in our calves and in the arch of our foot to actually lower ourselves so that we're not just slamming to the earth, right? We're hopping and we're lowering on the end of that hop. So let's go ahead and just do some hopping drills to practice that soft hopping. So weight is on our left foot, our right foot is free, and yes, your right knee, the non-hopping foot, should probably, it seems, feels right, that it should come up as a kind of momentum assister, momentum booster, but also by coming up like that, it makes your skirts spring, and both men and women have skirts in this era, ladies longer than men in most cases. So that means that this really adds a nice visual aspect and helps display your expensive, glorious clothing to full effect. So weight is on our left foot, our right foot is free. We're just going to hop, and I want you to focus on catching yourself. Ready, and hop, free, lower. Hop, lower. Hop, lower. Hop, lower. Hop, lower. Hop, lower. Okay, so let's try that on the right foot. Right foot has your weight, left foot is free. Ready, and hop, lower. 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 Okay. So now, let us go ahead and put that onto the end of our Saltarello. We're going to put on the Saltarello music, and we're just going to warm up the full Saltarello now. During the hops, I really want you to be cushioning yourself on the down. Cushioning yourself on the down. Brace for impact, as it were. There's another link, yeah. So we were looking at the analytics for my YouTube channel, and you can actually see what kind of searches people used to find my videos. And there's some really creepy, weird things, like leg brace brought my videos up. Leg prosthetic brought my videos up. No bra brought my video up. There's some disturbing stuff out there. Okay, so since this is a warm-up, I just want you to, once you catch the rhythm of the music, go ahead and practice your Saltarello. Nice soft landings. Try doing circles with yourself, really. And half turns, left to volta. Okay, nice warm up. So, to the leader-follower part of the dance. Connection. Connectivity is key to any leader-follower dance. Even to choreographies, I talk about this a lot. Elastic tension. So I'm going to have my partner come out. So the very first thing we want to do is actually drill a bit of connectivity. And I know you don't have a partner right now, but you will. Watch the recording with Brianna and go through this. So the drill is you're standing next to each other, and you have hands in the usual position, right? No tango lunges. Okay. Hands in the usual position, and I just want you to lightly push, and push is a strong word. Give a sideways impetus, both of you at the same time. And you should feel resistance when you do that, right? But by the same token, you should not be losing circulation in your fingers. Okay, so there should definitely not be a sense of dread in this particular hold. So now he's on the left, so he is the leader at this moment. And the exercise is going to be, he's going to just give me light impetus, either forward, and I'm just going to listen. I'm going to feel for that impetus. And then he's going to just lead backwards by just reversing momentum. There's no pushing, there's no pulling, there is just this presence, this connection, and so I can feel when he changes his direction or when he starts slowing down if we move to the side. Right, so this is a very important exercise for learning to feel your partner. Right, I have no idea what on earth he's doing or going to do, but I only respond because I can feel this connection, right? And that's something else.
No.
That's more than an impetus drill. So when you have a partner to practice with, the impetus drill is absolutely key for building that connectivity to be able to follow and to be able to lead. Because if you have spaghetti arms and you have no connection, my love, let's demonstrate the disaster that is spaghetti arms. So I'm going to have spaghetti arms. He's going to actually have proper arms. So this is what happens. Right? You actually end up body checking each other. And if you're dancing at Saltarello speed and you have a hop plus spaghetti arms, yeah, it's an emergency room visit waiting to happen. Okay, so once you've developed that connectivity with your partner, and if you're watching this video in retrospect, pause please and drill this before you move onward. This is important, this is key. So now that we have our connectivity built and everyone's perfect and you can communicate voicelessly like a smooth machine that's telepathic, right? Yeah, sure. This has taken years to build this kind of connectivity. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'm going to manage your expectations. There's going to be some stepped upon toes and some bruised shoulders possibly, which is why it's important to start this at a gentle walking speed. Okay, so once you have your connectivity, the first move we're going to learn is actually promenade. Is that promenade? And there's a question about how you start the Saltarello, right? When you're with a partner, do you just bounce right into the Saltarello? And I've kind of always done that, but I was thinking about it this morning when I couldn't sleep. How can I improve the Saltarello as a couples dance? And I actually thought forward to the Galliard in the 16th century and how our bow says that you should start with a reverenza, and then just start by walking single steps and then progress up to the Galliard. And since the Galliard is in many ways considered to be the heir of the Saltarello, the successor to the Saltarello, I thought, you know what, why can't we apply that there? Why can't the word promenade that's there imply just walking around gently before you bounce right into it, right? So that's how we're actually going to start this, and we're going to actually promenade around in single steps, but to the music. So you could, when you're thinking about Saltarello, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can do two kinds of singles, and the leader can lead either of them. You could do a really slow single, so that's 1 per bar of 6. So that would look like this. Weight is on your right foot, your left foot is free, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just responding to him. Like, I can feel his momentum. I can feel, we're just doing single steps, right? Because there's no hopping. So I'm responding entirely to his momentum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And that's actually a nice, gentle way to start. You're getting warmed up, you're developing your connectivity with your partner, establishing that connection before you start bounding all over the place like a drunken Bambi, right? So, or you can do 2 singles per bar of 6. So that would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're still stepping on 1 and 4. It's kind of like a sprightly bossa danza. And again, I feel that from him. Yeah, I feel that through his connection, through our connection, through his momentum. Right. So this is another thing to drill once you have a partner. I want you to drill between walking quickly and walking slowly over the Saltarello music. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. That's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and practice that. Let's go ahead and practice that. Let's go ahead and practice, and you as the leader decide, am I going to lead, am I leading the slow ones or the fast ones? And actually, I want you to alternate between the two. I want you to alternate between the two, between slow single steps and the faster single steps, and practice carrying that through in your frame. And this is why frame really matters, right? Our shoulders are back, our neck is aligned with our spine, right? Okay, not so far back that you're hyperextending muscles, obviously. Okay, so I'm going to put on the music, actually. So we have music for this, and you decide whether you want to do slow steps, slow single steps, or fast single steps. No, let's try it again. So actually that's something first, perhaps technique for the transitions. So when transitioning from from slow to fast is easy because I as a follower, I just feel, oh, we're going faster now, right? But on that transition, on the down transition, there is actually a way to communicate we're now going slower, and it's in Balboa, it's actually called a downstep. And this is how I sort of like in Jurassic Park, how they make the dinosaurs by patching it with amphibian DNA. Well, this is how I fill in the gaps on these 15th century leader-follower dances. I take the DNA from other dances and patch it up so that it can work. But there's only so much you can do with your body, and so I'm pretty certain that certain techniques have not really necessarily changed much over time. So the down step, the idea is that when you're fritting about, your momentum is forward. And I can feel that his momentum is forward because of this connection, right? I can feel this forward momentum. But on the down step, I can feel it too because he actually sinks extra on this step. So here we're going, right? So we actually, like, we're not bending down, but I can feel that he's really planting his weight on that step, and that slows me down. So that would look like this. We're walking about at fast speed, step, 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 step. And then I feel through our arms, I can feel that, oh, this is really heavy. It feels heavy to me, and it makes me slow down, right? And then we go faster again. And then I feel that heavy down step, that hold step. It's also called a hold step. Right. 1, 2, we're bouncing along. And then I felt the heavy, no, that was me talking, not paying attention to you.
That's okay.
So that hold step is a key leader technique for transitioning between the slower steps or the faster steps and the slower steps. And that's also how you can lead a transition from, let's say in the middle of the dance you're tired, but you don't want to leave the floor, so you can stop your Saltarello by leading a down step and by not doing that hop, that hop on the end and doing a down step instead. So let's go ahead and practice that now. Let's build up to promenading. We're going to promenade in Saltarello. And I want you to practice at your own, as the leader, at your own timing to decide, okay, it's coming now. I'm going to leave off the hop and I'm going to end that with a down step at the end of the Saltarello. Right? And like he said, it'll probably take you 4 or 5 bars of thinking about it before it actually happens. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that. So we'll just start with the Saltarello at this point, at this stage of the practicing. So weight is on our right foot, our left foot is free. Just do Saltarelli, and you as the leader decide, okay, I'm going to leave the hop off of this one and lead a down transition to slow us down back into single steps. Okay, ready, and da 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 da. Da, 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 da. That was better, yeah.
Ooh, I did the other leg.
You did, nice. Yeah. Nice. That looked pretty good. Brianna looks really excellent. Smoothly led. But no, the transition looked great, and if she was attached to, it would have been great. Okay, are there questions about that down step? Okay, then let us go ahead and we're going to put the music on. And we're going to start, we're actually going to open properly with a reverenza, and I believe this is how this dance should start. It should, because it actually mentions in the French sources that you should always open with a reverenza, except in the Bas Dansmaneur, which start with Saltarello, but whatever. So we're going to start with a reverenza as a kind of nice, gentle way to get us broken into the dance. And then start with your walking steps. You're the leader, so you decide whether you're going to start slow or fast. I kind of feel like maybe start slow, then go to fast, then momentum forward into the Saltarello. And then practice breaking between or transitioning between fast Saltarello steps, slow walking steps, fast Saltarello steps, slow walking steps. Okay, let's go ahead and try that. Okay. More momentum forward. One, 1, 2, 3. 1, 1. Okay. Okay. Really? I press pause and you just keep going. Okay. Right. Okay. Questions about that down step or anything that we just practiced?
The only part I want to question about is I had a kind of, and it may just be me doing something wrong, but I had a sort of stutter step as an alternative where I decided partway through, and I just did like a kind of stuttery thing, and it felt like it wouldn't have been too hard to follow, but maybe I'm imagining.
Well, no. So here's the reality about leader follower, and that's a good question. Is that if you have a connection, you can lead follow pretty much anything that will transmit through your hands, and anything that happens to your feet basically will transmit through your hands.
Yeah.
So
Brandon
yeah.
might argue with me that it probably would be impossible to follow, so we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's only one way to find out, but I can feel quite a lot because our torsos are part of our legs in this dance, right? We're not moving them separately like in belly dance. So that means that, and that comes through his arm and through our hand connection. So I can basically feel if he's stutter stepping, I can feel that. If I were to close my eyes and he were stutter stepping, I would totally feel that and I would follow that. So yeah, as the more you do leader follower dances, you develop a sensitivity, an increased heightened sensitivity, and then you notice just how much you can actually communicate without words. Okay, then let us move on to some figures. So this is again something to be practiced. It will take, especially once you have a human attached to you, it will take rehearsal and practice and repetition and laughter and tripping and knocking into each other probably. So let's get to our first figure that isn't just promenading around with our Saltarello. So from here, we have to look to the choreographies to create figures. Well, choreographies and iconography of people dancing from this era to create figures. So choreographically speaking, there are many dances that have choreographed sections for Saltarelli, and in some cases for couples doing things with the Saltarelli. The most common one is to take same hands and circle. So I'm going to ask my partner to come out. And nearly always you start by taking right hands, circling clockwise, and then you switch to left hands and you circle counterclockwise. So let's talk about the transition first from promenade into circling. And so again, we have our connection. And for him to get me from facing this way to facing him, he literally just turns his torso back. He turns the hand that's holding me back. And I feel that momentum because we're connected. And he releases my hand, right? And then catches the other hand. So as a follower, it's important that you keep your hands available here at this level. You know, don't be doing crazy things with your headdress. You know, and even if you have them on your skirts, that's okay because that puts them still at this level. So this is something we need we're just going to take a moment to practice. So your weight, ideally, and it probably isn't actually going to happen this way in practice, but ideally, when you start a figure, it should start with your left foot, ideally. So things should come in pairs generally. You do things in sets of 2, in sets of 4, in sets of 6, in sets of 8, Saltarelli, so to say. Yeah, I don't think it's actually going to work out that way, but that's a nice goal. So weight is on our right foot, and we're just going to pivot back. And that pivot is in 0 time. There's no extra steps for it. So it's a pivot on the right foot for the follower. And for the leader, there's no pivot, right? I mean, he sort of twists his torso mostly for him. And then we're going to transition into doing something, and there'll be motion. But for the follower, there is definitely a pivot there. So let's go ahead and practice that. So we have our connectivity. Weight is on our right foot. Our left foot is free. Ready? And pivot, catch. And by catch, I mean right hands. Yeah, let's try that again. Weight is on our right foot. Left foot is free. And pivot, catch. And at the end of that, again, weight should still be on your right foot.
We're kind of exaggerating it so you can see.
Right. So yeah, I mean, when we actually are doing it during the Saltarello tempo of music, you will not have this much extra time for this grand pivoting gesture.
Movement.
And yeah, and he's exaggerating.
Like literally, with us moving forward, I can just a little bit, and she knows.
Right, it's not. It doesn't have to be for him. It doesn't have to be a big motion.
I don't
Just
have to.
right.
And break her shoulders.
Right. So in reality, for him, it's just a slight twisting backwards of his torso, and I feel that and pivot. That's the response. I feel that and pivot. So then from there, because he's created that rotational momentum for me. From there, now we're right hand to right hand, and we're ready to go ahead and Saltarello. So from here, let's just, before we put this together with the promenade, let's just practice right hand and right hand. We're going to do 4 Saltarelli in this clockwise direction, and the last hop of the last Saltarello is a mezza volta. To take left hands and go 4 Saltarelli in the counterclockwise rotation. So we'll demonstrate how that will look. That will look like this. Ready, and I'll lead in, ready, and step, 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 hop 2, 3, 4, pivot, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, okay. And he led out of it, and we haven't gotten there yet, but it's okay. But for that pivot, it's the same lead for the pivot in the middle of the circling figure as to get me into it. It's just him twisting his torso one way that's connected to my hand to guide me in the direction he wants me to go. Right? So this is another exercise you can drill when you have a partner, is just practicing this pivoting, generating the momentum to pivot back and forth. Right? This is a key to actually successfully leading and following this dance.
That's because when you do that, you can see just how little you have to really.
Yeah, and as you're practicing this with an actual human, try reducing over time. Try reducing the amount of actual impetus you're providing until it's no longer enough. But the idea is we want to minimize the brute force involved in leading this dance. Okay, so we're going to do, the exercise is going to be, we're going to promenade around Saltarello, and for the sake of the drill, we'll do 4 Saltarelli to promenade. And then, leader, you give the impetus on that hop. It's on the hop. The transitions are on the hops. The hops are your transition for this dance, because that's when you're in the air, and that's where you're actually the most flexible, because you're not, ideally nothing is on the ground at that point. So the transition will be on the hop. So the pattern's going to be step, 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 hop, step, 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 hop, step, 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 hop, step, 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 hop, pivot into taking right hands into circling. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that. Lead is on our right foot, left foot is free, and step, 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 hop, 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 step, 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 hop, step, step, hop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we'll talk about how to get out of it in a moment. Okay, so let's go ahead and drill that, okay, with the music. With the music. With the different music, where Ryan can hear the rhythm. Ready, and hop. 3, 4, 1. Okay, so we're going to drill. We have to talk about how to get out of it. Okay, so to get out of this figure, and it's, no matter which way you're circling, it's the same. We're actually on this hand. Out.
When we go.
Yes. So when you circle right hands first and then left hands, you're at the end of your circling, your left hand's more or less like this. Okay. And so all he has to do is actually pivot on the hop and just not give me any impetus because I'm already facing the direction I need to be facing. So I get no impetus. He just pivots and switches hands. Right. So I'm just hopping in my usual direction and he pivots and switches hands. That's all. That's how you get out of this. So just in terms of the circling figure, you can not do the hops, you know. Okay, so the circling figure looks like this. We're in it. 1, 3, 4, pivot, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I just keep going because I haven't been given any other indication. And that's fine because he didn't want to give me any other indication. He just wanted to get out of the figure.
Very much so. I was getting busy.
Yeah. Now, because, you know, Saltarelli are actually relatively slow compared to Piva, you can actually reduce that down to 2 Saltarelli, 2 and 2. And that works pretty well too. So that would look like this.
2 and 2.
So we'll do 2 Saltarelli promenading and then 2 and 2 circling. Looks like this. And step, 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 hop, step, 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 hop. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and drill that. We'll do it with 2 this time. So 2 Saltarelli promenading around into circling, 2 for clockwise, pivoting, circling 2 counterclockwise, out of it, back into 2 Saltarelli. Okay, let's go ahead and drill that. And we will, let me see, yeah, there's 2 little notes of pickup. So 2 little notes of pickup and then start right into your 2 Saltarelli. Two more forward. Other way. 2. Okay, you're leading and following. You hypothetically don't have to count. Oh, that's a good idea. Ha! Yeah, he is. That's actually a good idea. No, you know, it's an appendage, and it's dead weight, so it's an extra hard appendage to dance with. You could maybe put some, if you had the weights with a hole in the center, you could put it over top of the broom handle. Okay, are there questions about that before we move on to the next figure? So the next figure is an underarm turn, and this figure, if you start looking for it, you're going to see it, especially on wedding cassone, which were the trousseau chests, gorgeous, I mean, they were works of art in and of themselves, gorgeously painted, massive chests with which the lady brought her dowry of goods to her new home, or used to. Of course, by the mid-15th century, ladies' dowries were so immense that they did not fit in a chest. But the wedding cassone was a tradition at that point. And frequently, they're bedecked with imagery of people festivaling, fêting, right? They're dancing, they're drinking, they're eating. And so this is where you can get some really great iconography of people dancing, especially couples dancing, because it's a wedding, so it's intimate marriage of 2 people. And so it usually depicts a musician and 2 people dancing on their own. And one of the common figures is this, my love. You don't have to, just I need your body. So one of the figures is this. Yes, so put your arm, like we're doing an underarm turn, so it's kind of archer. So one of the common figures is this. You see this, right? He's facing that way, she's facing this way, and their hands are connected like this, and she's under her arm like this. And that is just very clearly an underarm turn, right? No matter what, I mean, it's hard to extrapolate a moment in time of a kinesthetic activity such as dance or combat from a painting, but there's pretty much only one option for this. You're not going to dance like this. This would be deadly in the clothing from this era. I mean, you're not going to dance like forward, right? We're not going to do this. You go that way. Right? Like this is a bad idea. I can do it, but it's a bad idea. So let's talk about underarm turns. Just no footwork, just geography and leading. So the same idea for the lead here, it's all about impetus. So he just brings my arm up, and I just keep going in the direction I was already going because that's where my momentum was. In essence, in any leader-follower dance, the idea is that for the follower, you're given momentum, you're given a direction, and you keep going in that direction until you get different momentum. So until he changes the trajectory of my momentum, I just keep going that way. And that's how good following works, right? You just keep going. And for leaders, that means they have the responsibility of making sure they remember to tell their followers when they do want a change in trajectory.
Go get a drink while they're spinning on the field.
Yeah, don't just leave them spinning. That's mean. So for this underarm turn, we're coming at it from a two-hand position. He swings, that's his right hand up, and I feel that, and I'm just going to keep going in the direction I'm facing because I don't have any other momentum direction to give. And he's actually also actively, if you were doing a really good leading job, he would actually be actively, no, follow. He would actually be actively leading my hand around, right? So because his arm provides, again, that elastic connectivity, that elastic connection, I can lead him because his arms are not noodle arms, right? And if I wanted to, I could lead him the other way if he would follow.
If I wasn't so dizzy.
Right. So for the follower, it's crucial that you keep that elastic connectivity, that elastic tension in your arms, no matter what position they're in, whether they're here, whether they're here at your sides, whether they're up above you, no noodle arms. And the same thing applies for the leader. No matter what position your arm is in, it should have some sort of elastic tension. So that's something else to practice. So for this figure, remember I said that all transitions should be performed on the hop because that's when you're the most mobile in this dance form. And if you're doing just the piva, then all transitions should be performed in that vuoto, in that gap between the two piva, so to say. Right. So as we're promenading around, this is how this underarm figure would look, or one of the underarm figures would look. So let's promenade, ready, and da, 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 da. And so he leads me back, and I know that the underarm turn is over because we go from being here to he brings his arm down. And then literally it blocks my path, like I can't keep going under his arm at that point. So let's try that, let's demonstrate that again. Weight is on our right foot, our left foot is free, ready, and 1 da da, 2 da da, 3 da da, 4 da da. He brings me up, and I just keep going in this forward direction because I've got no other momentum directions. And then he brings his arm down, and we continue promenading around. So let's go ahead. The drill is going to be 2 Saltarelli forward, promenading. Arm comes up, underarm turn for 2 Saltarelli. Arm comes down, forward 2 Saltarelli. So again, it's going to be this 2, 2, and 2 pattern. Okay. So weight is on our right foot, left foot is free. Ready, and 1 da da, 2 da da, 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 1 da da, 2 da da. And for that particular underarm turn, the follower is the one pivoting underneath of the arm, and the leader is also sort of going around, counter-rotating. So I am pivoting, I am moving counterclockwise, and he is moving clockwise around me. Yeah, so he's moving clockwise, I'm moving counterclockwise. So that creates a really interesting effect of us occasionally, as we go around, we make eye contact, and then we make eye contact.
And I lowered the arm too soon.
Yeah, and then I get caught in the arm and we collapse.
Eye contact, eye contact, eye contact. There it is.
And obviously, you can do this with as many saltarelli as you like. You could do 4 saltarelli with this underarm turning figure, 6, 8. I do recommend you keep it in 2s because the music is phrased in groups of 4. So that'll help you stay on the phrasing of the music and you won't end up dancing across the phrase, which can be dissonant for those of us who are musically attuned.
This is very important for small space dancing too.
Oh, yeah, so if you're dancing in small spaces, and most people are these days, then yeah, keeping things down into groups of 2s means you don't end up going very far.
It also means that you can turn it around really easy.
Yeah.
So you'll notice when we go, it's 1, 2, 3, 2, 3.
Right. We don't need lots of space to do this. It's also a nice way to round corners, actually, without doing sudden mezza volta, you may have noticed. It enabled us just gently and elegantly ping-pong back and forth between the two spaces. And as we learned in Arena from the 16th century, it seems people were often dancing in long, narrow spaces, or just narrow spaces, whether long or not. So that means maybe you don't have room to actually go around like a racetrack, but if you do this underarm turn at the end of your space, then that's a nice way to convert direction, as it were.
I had a quick question about this.
Yes.
I noticed that your salto becomes really small when you're doing that. And now is that right? They get much smaller? I talk about this because Brianna and I may have done a similar figure, and there may have been a head bonking into the sharp point of my elbow at some point. So,
Did you say the hop gets really small?
yeah, the hop gets.
Yeah. So it sort of depends on the music. And it also, I'm the height of your partner too. If either of us takes really big hops and the other doesn't, then it ends up being dissonant. But he's taller than I am.
I didn't get your arm up. I'm not doing a good job.
Step,
showing.
step, step,
Let's
hop,
start
step.
being ready.
Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, we'll actually lose connection if he's hopping too much higher than I am. But the reality is that it depends on my partner. He has heel spurs, so we're purposefully not hopping vigorously. If I were dancing with someone who didn't have heel spurs, I would be hopping much more vigorously.
Okay.
But also it's a question of experience. And this is true, that when you are learning this dance, especially as a leader-follower dance, you don't want big hops because more momentum in your hop equals more likelihood of calamity. So as you become more comfortable with the dance as a leader-follower dance, then I do think probably your hops should actually get a little more exaggerated, a little more accentuated. But especially in the earlier stages, not so much. And it's also a question of your partner and their physical fitness, athletic fitness, and state of infirmity, as they say in the sources. Did that answer your question?
I think so. It sounds like, yes, you jump high, and it's about just being in tune with each other.
Yeah.
That's how you avoid accidents.
Yep. That's what it comes down to. And when I'm dancing alone, like if I'm just dancing a saltarello on my own, yeah, my salti are very high.
Yeah.
And it's you probably have noticed that even just Sempi and Dopey feel completely different when you're by yourself versus when you have a human attached to you. Like you can move and do different things, and that's the nature of appendages. Yep. Okay, other questions? Okay, so this is definitely enough information for an introductory class. So let's go ahead and put it all together now. And I'm not going to give you a pattern This is the part where as a leader or a follower, you just have to learn to either lead and make decisions or respond. So let's recap what we've learned. To start the Saltarello, feel like we should do a nice reverenza and then start with our gentle sempi, whether it's the super slow sempi or the Saltarello tempo sempi, and then up into promenading. From there, you can either do circling or underarm turns. And as you get tired, being able to lead back into those sempi is crucial, because if you feel yourself starting to get tired, then you can take a break in the middle of the dance without actually leaving the floor. Right? So that's another handy thing about that exercise we did about leading the down step and transitioning downward, shifting down into singles from the Saltarello. Okay, let's put the music on. Grab your broom. Okay, and we'll stick to the music that Ryan prefers because he can hear the rhythm much better. So let's start with a nice reverenza, however long you wish to make it. Not through the entire song. And a reverenza. Excellent. Okay, that looked actually very nice. Your partner was perfect. She followed everything.
Especially when I put her down so that I could do circles on my own because I couldn't figure out how to make the broom work.
Okay, so are there questions now that you've had a chance to hop through it once?
My only questions will be what other things, and we'll do that in another class. That sounds fun.
Yeah, definitely get all of this, because especially once you bring Brianna into it, you're going to want to work and get all this nice and smooth before you start throwing other figures into it.
Those connectivity exercises were great, and if you do ever think of more of them, let me know, because
I will. There actually are more, and these are things I picked up from all of the other kinds of social dancing I've done over the years. But I thought, why should I not apply those to this? Is a leader-follower dance. Why not?
Well, I could imagine stuff from swing or other things would fit really well for making transitions.
They do. And you can tell the difference between people on the dance floor and the medieval ballroom floor, between the people who do other kinds of social dance, leader-follower social dance, and those who don't. Because the connectivity really, it's not just a matter of look. Like it's yes, the aesthetic is better, but it's better for the people in the dance too.
Yeah, but it really makes me think of horse riding, right? That quality there's an intuitiveness of the horse, and also a need to follow. And some horses are more willing to follow you, and
Yes.
others are less.
That
And there
that
is something about partner dancing that has that same feel, obviously with a willful human.
that is
Rather than
that is exactly, yes, and it's especially in dressage riding, where it's all about gentle momentum and impulses and not violent anything, right? And it's all through your seat. So it's the same idea. It's all through here. Like this is it. This is your point of connection, but it's because this is the point of connection that communicates all of this. Same thing in the saddle. Really, your point of connection is just like your inner thighs and, like, hypothetically, your calves and your seat, right? That's it. But you should be able to make that horse do amazing things with just that, and your hands be damned.
Yeah, I remember from Karen and I did a bunch of salsa, and we did a little tango, and it's hard. It's a stress being man.
It gets easier, especially if you do the connectivity exercises. So here's the end. I'd be interested to see after you practice this and drill this a little bit, and then you go back and try those other dances again. I bet they'll be easier.
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
The connectivity will probably make us more fluent in each other. Oh, there's my boom.
Oh, well, you made her so tired she passed out.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, well, we'll see you in 12 minutes.
Okay. Bye for now.